and female brothers, welcome back to another lore dive. Yeah, there's a lot of chaos going on in the world, and as one of the goats of the Imperium, I say at this moment, we gotta purge that immediately. There's too much heresy on the timeline, and we gotta purge that immediately. So today we're doing a lore dive into the Tyranids from Warhammer 40k. Now, I am consuming all lore. I love Warhammer. I'm reading the novels now. It's probably my favorite lore dive series I've ever dove into, and I am very excited to see where we go from here. I never actually looked into the Tyranids specifically and individually. I just know they're like this hive mind crazy bug monsters from other galaxies, and I am very excited to see what this is actually all about. My latest Warhammer lore dive was on the Salamander Legion, so we're mixing it up a little bit. Subscribe for weekly Warhammer lore and daily lore analysis consumation. All right, let's see what we got. All right, let's go.
Hi, friends. What do you get when you mix bugs, dinosaurs?
Oops.
Hi, friends. What do you get when you mix bugs, dinosaurs, a tad eldritch horror, and a constant hangriness?
The Tyranids.
Well, I don't really know, but if you combine Tyranid and Id, you get the Tyranids.
That's crazy.
These silly little guys are one of the most dire threats in the galaxy, if not the most dire threat.
Honestly, the only thing I know about the Tyranids is that they probably are the most dire threat in the galaxy. The fact that they are these bug monsters invading the galaxy from alternate galaxies, and you have no idea how many they are. They just absorb and grow.
So today, get your raid and fly swatters ready, because we're going to learn all about these space bug
Yeah, let's go.
The Tyranids were first officially encountered on the ocean world of Tyranid, where Inquisitor Cryptman creatively ID'd them as Tyranids.
Oh, that's why they're called Tyranids. I'm shocked and floored and flabbergasted. They're called Tyranids because he found them on the planet Tyran, and that's just how they classified him, and that's it. Dude, the Inquisitors are crazy. After reading some of the books about following certain Inquisitors in the Eisenhorn trilogy, like, bro, these guys are crazy.
Specifically, Hive Fleet Behemoth. And there were other Tyranid encounters before this, but the Imperium didn't properly identify them as Tyranids until the encounter with Behemoth.
Oh, shit. So they found a bunch of different Tyranids. They just never actually knew what they were. They thought they were just random different Xenos life forms because the Tyranids range in so many different shapes and sizes. It's interesting because unlike most different creatures in 40k, the Tyranids really don't belong to one group. They belong to one mind. They're a giant hive mind that absorbs everything they follow around, just absorbing and absorbing more genetic life into their swarms. Like, they are so terrifying.
One cool thing about these dudes is that they're actually not even really from the Milky Way galaxy.
That's not cool. That's the scariest part about the dudes. So, Warhammer 40k, by the way, one of the greatest pieces of fiction ever created, one of the most expansive lores ever. I love it so much. It takes place within the Milky Way galaxy. It is a 60 million year long history inside the Milky Way galaxy, following demons and gods and space elves and fucking psycho sex monsters. That's a real thing. They're giant, ancient, 60 million year old killer immortal robots. There are old ones, star vampire gods. Like, there are an incredible amount of crazy creatures and overpowered monsters that fly around in the Milky Way galaxy. The Tyranids invade the Milky Way galaxy. You don't know if this is their first stop. You don't know if this is their last stop. You don't know if they've already completely absorbed multiple galaxies at this point. They might be a threat so unbelievably terrifying that we can't even fathom it. Like, all the wars going on between the Imperium of Man versus the Gods of Chaos versus the Necrons versus the Eldar versus the Tau versus every other race and nation and alien species, all that might be completely irrelevant, because at some point the Tyranids are just going to show up and consume everyone.
The Tyranids are from outside of the galaxy, and it's theorized that in-universe, the Tyranids were attracted to the Milky Way when Super Chad Gilliman activated a Necron beacon called the
No
Pharaoh's
shot.
Array.
No, it was Gilliman that summoned them. No.
In order to regroup Imperial forces in Imperium Secundus. The Pharaoh's Array was being used by Gilliman to function as a secondary astronomicon and aid Imperial navigators when traveling the warp. Just think of it like a giant magic lighthouse. The array was eventually destroyed, but the damage was already done, and the Tyranids were en route to the galaxy.
That's crazy.
They're also most likely attracted to Astronomicon for similar reasons. This would prove a fatal attraction for all the Milky Boys in the Milky Way, because I wasn't kidding when I said they may be one of the most dire threats that the galaxy faces.
I'll be real, I think they're by far the most dire threat. I genuinely think they are the most dire threat the galaxy faces. It almost seems like all the different wars and battles that go on in the galaxy are just like random little jokes compared to the Tyranids. The Tyranids shouldn't be thought of as a swarm of bugs. They're more like the universe becomes alive and hungry. Oh, God. No, but it's definitely scary. It's definitely mind-blowing, and I don't think I've ever seen an antagonistic force in all of fiction like the Tyranids. And I consume a lot of lore, you should know. All right, we just did Warcraft lore, we did League of Legends lore, we did like all sorts of crazy lore dives into different franchises. I've never seen a threat like the Tyranids. Never.
The Tyranids made a huge entrance when Behemoth ravaged a whole lot of worlds and then almost destroyed the home of the Ultramarines, as well as Gilliman in his Sleeping Beauty era.
No! Well, Gilliman's back. Thank the Emperor, Gilliman has returned.
Yeah, I'd say they're pretty scary. But yeah, okay, sure, they're scary, but why scary? Well, the Tyranids have one goal, and that's to eat all the biomass they could possibly find.
Now that's pretty scary, unless you're a Necron. Shout out to the Necrons.
And to accomplish this goal, they have adapted an insane number of monstrous bioforms, weapons that make war crimes look like poor limes.
Literally called a flesh borer. Yikes.
And just downright terrifying tactics. But let's address...
Yeah, like, dude, you'd think that the Imperium of Man, all they need to do is commit some war crimes and they can get away with it. No, nothing. There is nothing that you could do at this point against them. Like, that's the insanity. I don't even know how they could deal with them. Like, when it comes to basically every other threat, you can imagine there's gonna be some cataclysmic war at some point and one party will win, right? Like, that's insane, okay? Maybe at some point one party will win. But with the Tyranids, there's really no hope. There's no hope. They killed hope.
The Tyranids themselves and some common traits that the various bioforms share. Almost all the Tyranids have 6 limbs, just like an insect, have strong chitinous armor, that's fancy talk for bug-like exoskeletons, and most of them are super hard to kill since they usually have duplicate organs, kind of like a space.
Nice, let's go.
Furthermore, all the Tyranid weaponry is just advanced biotech. That's right. All of the Tyranids' guns are just parts of their body or other organisms that they evolved to have.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
This dude, he evolved to have literal actual gun hands.
Is that a gun cock? Holy shit. I need one of those.
Some species have all the luck. But that's actually one of the biggest things that make Tyranids so threatening. They have the ability to evolve at an insane rate, and this helps them adapt to nearly any enemy. Usually evolution takes anywhere from minutes to over a lot of millions of years. But the ones that evolve fast are usually like lame bacteria or viruses that almost nobody cares about.
True.
And the notable evolution.
No one gives a shit about lame bacteria and viruses.
Changes that do take place over millions of generations are also pretty lame.
It's like it's actually hacking. It's Pokemon except they have all the rare candies. Like, it's not even right. It's not right, bro. It's not right. It's like, I'll give you the equivalent, okay? Imagine you start a game of Pokemon and you go to the first gym, all right? You go to the first gym in Pokemon, and you have a level 14 fucker, whatever. The gym leader doesn't only have a team of 6 guys at level 100. He has a team of infinite Pokemon at level 100. That is the level of insanity we're dealing with here. Because they don't just have an army of a million or a billion. They have untold, endless galaxies that they've already absorbed at their disposal.
As a former bio major, I can tell you that I'm fairly confident no
former bio major, current Warhammer lore enthusiast.
Species in real life has evolved literal gun hands after being shot for a few days. So whenever the Tyranids encounter a problem, unlike us, they don't have an existential crisis in the kitchen and then impulsively buy more models to add to the pile of shame. No, the Tyranids, they take it on the chitin and they evolve a whole new bioform.
That's crazy. They just evolve, like, in real time.
Completely counter whatever proved to be a problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he includes this in this video, so I'm just gonna say it. There is one case where Tyranids were invading. Tyranids were invading the galaxy, and it was such a threat because every time they would get to a planet, they would consume everything on the planet and become stronger, and their army would become bigger because they would just infect the motherfuckers that they were attacking. So it was such an unbelievable threat. An Inquisitor of the Imperium of Man blew up 10 planets, exterminatus 10 planets in front of the Tyranids, so the Tyranids wouldn't be able to grow, so that when they fought in battle, they would actually be able to turn that one swarm away. They blew up 10 of their own planets, killing billions of their own people, because it would be too much of a threat to the galaxy if the Tyranids would be able to absorb them. That's how fucked up this shit is. Worth mentioning that said Inquisitor was declared too radical and kicked out for it. Yeah, but he might have saved the galaxy!
Tyranids are constantly learning from their enemies and adding it to their collective knowledge.
Pre-burning before the fire gets there. Exactly. It's like, bro dropped a bomb on LA so that the fires couldn't burn anything down.
They know how to better kill and eat their next meal. It's like the extreme ultimate form of that loot.
Just killed some dumbass bug, Lamau. they post his IP address. Fuck.
On Twitter that he called a moron, so he stalked every possible aspect of your life just so he could craft the perfect insult. And that brings us to the next point. Perhaps an even greater strength in their rapid evolution, the Tyranids have a hive mind, which is a huge tactical asset.
Yep.
There's a few Imperial theories as to what the true nature of the hive mind is, but whether the hive mind is just a psychic network and database for all the Tyranids to store and access information like a ultra messed up bio-murder internet, or if it's a supreme organism that controls all the Tyranids as an extension of itself, one thing's for certain, the hive mind is one scary son of a gun to fight.
True.
The hive mind has knowledge built up of countless experience of all the Tyranids connected to the hive, meaning that's probably—
Bro! It has more experience than anything, than any god in the Milky Way.
Smart as Elon thought he was when he changed Twitter's name to X.
Bro, he was as smart as Elon thought he was when he went live on X to play Path of Exile 2.
This means that it has centuries of tactics stored and it can learn extremely rapidly. So, it either knows how to kill you and all your friends, or it can learn how to kill you and all your friends faster than a race between the White Scars and Sihon.
Nice.
Another cool and scary thing about the hive mind, depending on how many arms you have, is that the hive mind's psychic presence is so potent it causes a phenomenon known as the shadow and the warp, and has some pretty nasty effects on psychers.
Oh shit, I didn't know about that. I didn't know they actually evolved to gain psyker shit.
Effects do scale with how potent of a psyker someone is, but it's usually always pretty bad news for those magic
That's
boards.
crazy.
Some notable effects of the shadow and the warp are that astropaths can't send psychic messages or see areas where a hive fleet is present. This is a big issue since astropaths are the Imperium's main form of long-range communication, and severing that can mean an Imperial world is cut off from the rest of—
A Tyranid gene stealer cultist referred to their supreme intelligence as the Four-Armed Emperor. Oh shit. Oh my, they worship the hive mind too?
the Imperium. And other Imperials can't even detect.
They cut the warp off around planets that they're invading so they can get no reinforcements? Dude, it's crazy. Like, you think they're just powerful bug guys. But they're strategic. They're terrifying.
If the hive fleet is present. This often allows Tyranid attacks to snowball into a little something known as a big frickin' problem. Or should I say a bug freaking problem. So, a hive fleet can destroy many worlds without the Imperium ever finding out until they see a wake of dead planets. But
that's crazy. Imagine that. Imagine showing up at a planet that lost communication and they're just all dead. Then you go to another one and they're all dead. Then eventually find a massive swarm that just also has all your ex-friends as like puppet bug monsters.
Other than Psychers, the Shadow and the Warp is so powerful that even non-Psychers are affected. This is possible since pretty much every being in 40k has a psychic presence.
Well, except for blanks.
Even if just a little bit. So, the Shadow and the Warp makes normal people extremely anxious and can even plunge people into insanity, further playing into the Eldritch horror aspects.
Wow. They fuck with the Warp so much that Psychers go insane just being around them. Dude, like this ain't right, bro. This ain't right. The hive mind identifies sources of resistance, targets them specifically. That's why they hit the Blood Angels' homeworld. Bro, that's insanity.
But back to the hive. Using its vast knowledge, the hive mind creates various Tyranid bioforms to accomplish whatever task it needs in order to secure its next meal. And remember, the Tyranids are a lot like a rich person's store. Everything's organic. So the equivalent to troops, tanks, and even ships are all different Tyranid bioforms. So let's just go through some of the more notable and interesting Tyranid
All right,
bioforms.
I'm ready.
First off, let's talk about the Norn Queen, since she's the one responsible for physically making all these nasty critters. The Norn Queen is essentially just a Tyranid monster factory that lives in the center of every hive fleet.
Wait, every fleet has one of these Norn Queens? Every single one? So they're continuously producing and developing new biomaterial bullshit?
The Norn Queen is capable of designing or cloning whatever Tyranid bioform that the hive fleet needs for its current campaign.
They didn't target the Blood Angels. They were tricked into attacking it because it was a barren death world from the Silent King. Yes, Nux, the Silent King helped the Blood Angels. The Silent King? The Necron King helped the Blood Angels fight off the Tyranids? Dude, I'm telling you, the Necrons are easily my favorite characters. They're so fucking cool. They're so cool.
The Queen is fueled and uses biomass from reclamation pools to create these little buggers, which I suppose I should explain what exactly a reclamation pool is for the less nerdy of the audience. A Tyranid invasion usually follows some basic steps, which can be succinctly described as check out a world, drop off troops of the world, wreck shit on the world, and then, when everything is dead and eaten, jump into the pool for a nice celebration party.
Nice.
Except that pool dissolves all of you and your friends into a nice little soup ripe for the Norn Queen to make you again and repeat the process.
So they consume all biomass on the planet. And now that they've consumed all this extra mass, they jump into this giant fucking vat of acid to make a biomass soup so the Norn Queen can rebuild them as a much bigger, larger, greater, stronger army than they were before. First of all, that's fucking gross. Second of all, that is some of the most chaotic, insane shit I've ever seen.
With that, let's talk about their basic troops, the Gauns. These little fellas are relatively small and weak by themselves, but they almost always attack in large groups to overwhelm their foes. In addition, they have many mutant variations to fulfill different battlefield roles.
Okay, cool.
Most common, however, are the Terma and Horma varieties. Termagants are the ranged variety of Gaunts. It can have a number of bioweapons. Their most common is a flesh borer.
Bro, what is that?
Ranged variety of Gaunts. It can have a number of bioweapons.
Literal dual-wield gun hands. Dual-wield gun hands! And they're actually bioweapons. The Swarm Lord remembers every time it's died and has millions of years of direct combat experience on top of being part of the hive mind. Holy shit.
Common is a flesh borer. This gun shoots flesh borer beetles, which, as their name
It shoots living beetles!
suggest, bores into flesh.
Yeah, we got
Another common weapon are the spike rifles, which, as their name suggests, shoot spikes. Spine fists, which, as their name suggests, are fists that shoot spines.
Yep,
and devourers, which is a type of flamer. I'm just kidding.
What the?
Devourers shoot flesh worms, which, as their name suggests...
Oh my god, this is horrifying! This is horrifying. Bro.
Devours whatever they're shot at and eats its way towards the unlucky sucker's brain. Then the Hormagaunts.
And it eats them. It's part of the thing. It still consumes the biomass.
Gaunts are the melee shock variety of Gaunts. Each Termagant has a pair of scything talons, which, as their name suggests, are talons that scythe things.
Yes.
And I decided this is an overused joke. Which, as his name suggests, is a joke that is overused.
Okay, alright. Nice try. Well done.
Hormagaunts are extremely fast and vicious, and something that makes them even more...
Actual ninja. You see, you know what? If Assassin's Creed Shadows was based, they would have put this guy as one of the main characters in feudal Japan. I feel like this is truly understanding and respecting Japanese culture.
More troublesome to deal with is that they're actually able to reproduce without the Norn Queen, so they can amass great
This bug has riz.
numbers on the battlefield, or continue to trouble a world after the Hive Fleet may have left. Other cool Gaunts are Gargoyles, Gaunts with wings, Barb Gaunts, Gaunts with big guns, and Ibram Gaunts, Gaunt with plot armor. Next, let's talk about the equivalent of commanding officers in the Tyranid army. The Tyranid warriors are large beasts known as synapse creatures. Synapse creatures are essentially psychic conduits that connect to the hive mind and amplifies its presence in order to direct other Tyranid bioforms on the battlefield.
So basically, generals that are constantly hooked up with literally everything. After a Tyranid conquers a planet, their ship sucks up all biomass goo, and just before the cultists enter the goo, the hive mind removes itself from the cultists, leaving them with the knowledge that they doomed their world. What the fuck? That's dark.
Along with being a big psychic Wi-Fi extender.
Alright, so basically, you need to go after these guys. Right? These guys, you fuck this guy and their whole chain of command falls apart.
Tyranid warriors are also proficient warriors and have a number of deadly weapons like the aforementioned rending claws. They have bone swords, death spitters, and a wide variety of other scary gun hands and sword hands. Interestingly,
Yikes.
warriors also have a bit of autonomy from
I am a free thinker.
the hive, and they use this to assess the battlefield and make on-the-fly tactical decisions,
Dude.
much like a commanding officer of more conventional species would do. A step up from the warriors would be the hive tyrants, which are basically
Holy
just really
shit.
huge warriors.
They're just bigger, bro. They're bigger with meaner weapons.
It's often the main synapse creature in a war and has a big brain to match its big sword. And
Nice.
maybe has another big thing.
Oh!
Wink, wink. Of course, I'm just kidding, since, you know, we would have known if it had a big thing, considering they don't wear any pants.
True.
On the contrary, patriarchs do in fact have a big thing. But back
Oh. Wait.
on the contrary, patriarchs do in fact have
Oh! Oh.
a big thing. But back to the hive tyrants, they mostly have the same weapons as warriors, except bigger and more
Bigger
killier.
and
also, like
killier.
all Tyranids, this dude got
Dude,
variants.
I wonder how scary like this is compared to a space marine. This guy would probably fuck up a space marine.
One cool one being the winged hive tyrant, which,
No!
as his name suggests, no, damn it, it's just a hive tyrant with wings. We'll leave it at that. And then another thing that's technically a variant of a hive tyrant is the swarm lord.
All right, so these guys basically run that shit, right? These guys, these are the commanders of the various fleets, right?
Swarm lord is one of the few Tyranid quote-unquote characters, and it's a perfect hive tyrant. It is said that the Swarm Lord being made is a stress-induced response within the Norn Queen for when the Tyranid strategies are beginning to fail and the hive mind really wants that victory royale. The Swarm Lord has the most autonomy of any Tyranid creature and is
At least that we know of, right? The Swarm Lords are the most autonomous creatures that we've met that have entered our galaxy.
able to create strategies separate from the hive mind in order to win a war.
Oh, shit.
It's also able to be spawned by any hive
This is like a Tyranid Primarch, right? It takes like a Primarch to beat a guy like this. Fuck.
ship if the need arises, making it practically immortal. It's
Great. Immortal Primarchs. Sounds about right.
Also-
And they can produce billions of them.
unfortunately known for getting its ass kicked whenever a character needs to be shown as a badass. But
No.
this is a Tyranid video, so we won't talk about that.
Nice.
Some other cool bioforms are lictors, which are like scouts and assassins
Ooh.
of the Tyranids. Carnifexes, which are giant monsters
Bro.
that act kind of like tanks as they have giant destructive weapons and heavy armor. Gene Stealers, which love denim, and then the Hive Guard, which are heavy troops that defend Tyranid commanders and structures.
Right, so they basically literally every type of post of soldier that you could think of, from tanks to planes to assassins to guards to anything, they have that version of a Tyranid. And just the absolute biological peak of that position.
It's also rumored that the Hive Guard were made using some harvested Space Marine DNA.
Oh shit.
But I don't really know if that one's actually true lore-wise or if I'm misremembering. Either way, they're cool. There's also like a
Damn.
million
And of course, every time they go for one, every time they defeat some enemy race, they literally just take the best parts of them and add them to their primordial soup to make their monsters killier. They just reach the maximum evolution of every form of combatant in a battlefield. Holy shit.
other bioforms, but I'll cover those in a future video as this one's supposed to be pretty general. So, let's close this off by briefly discussing hive fleets.
Alright.
Yep, I keep mentioning them, but what are they? Well, a hive fleet is basically just a large Tyranid swarm that goes planet to planet consuming biomass, and they
Fuck,
also
dude.
come in a lot of fun colors.
Yeah!
A single hive fleet can be an apocalypse level threat and are almost impossible to completely destroy since if they are defeated, they can break into splinter fleets and regroup. No,
Wow, dude! Just a single hive fleet. One hive fleet. And you're cooked.
notable hive fleets are Behemoth, the first major hive fleet to hit the galaxy, who are mostly defeated on Macragge, Hive Fleet Kraken, the second major Tyranid fleet known for nearly eradicating Crafter Leandin, and of course, Hive Fleet Leviathan, the largest hive fleet in the galaxy. They defeated the Orcs on Octarius, really busted the Blood
Bro.
Angels balls on ball, and recently made a comeback to kick off the 4th Tyrannic War for the launch of 10th edition and Space Marine 2.
Bro, dude. And you know the craziest part about like all these invasions are they're coming from different sectors of the galaxy. Like every single one of these hive invasions are coming from a different part of the galaxy, which implies that there are galaxies, plural, surrounding the Milky Way that are all potentially controlled by different hive minds, or the same hive mind that's already controlled multiple galaxies. Dude, they fought with orcs for decades. Holy shit.
And let's go over some lesser known but cool hive fleets. There's Hive Kronos, which was made to counter chaos, and they shoot bio bullets that could somehow eat souls.
This is the level of evolution that none of us were expecting. So they have the galaxy surrounded, and they literally can develop these creatures and evolve them to be the perfect counter to every threat that they possibly could face. Soul-killing bug monsters to fight the chaos creatures and chaos gods and demons.
Gorgon, which are even more specialized in adaptation, and they like to kill Tau.
Long range, because Tau has long-ranged weapons. So there's special, dude, there's special genetically modified evolved creatures that have long-range weapons. That's insane. They evolve to eat souls.
And then there's Tiamat, who have the prettiest color scheme and decide to settle down on a plan to mysteriously build something, which, let's be honest, secluding yourself to build stuff all day and only come out for food once in a while is super relatable to 40k players. So let's all salute our kindred spirit, Tiamat.
Nice.
Also, I just want to mention that I love that all the hive fleets are named after mythological and religious monsters. It's such a cool piece of flavor. But with that,
yeah, Hive Kraken, Hive Leviathan. Yeah, that is cool.
Let's start to bring this brief Tyranid overview to a close.
I mean, I think it just goes to show, like, naming them after different mythological creatures, all the different fleets, just goes to show that it's such a larger-than-life threat. Evolved to eat souls is one of the most terrifying things I've ever heard. Yeah, that's crazy. They adapt to fight the arcane. Like, this isn't just regular adaptations to fighting actual weapons. They evolve into mystical planes.
I really like the Tyranids. That mutant dinosaur aesthetic with the Eldritch horror mixed
Heresy!
So cool. And I would have started with them if it weren't for their hive mind.
Oh, you heretics.
Don't get me wrong, the hive mind is a super cool piece of them, but I like customizing writing characters, so the Tyranids didn't really fit that goal. But regardless, the Tyranids are great, and they make for an excellent end.
They are terrifying. They are such a terrifying threat. I mentioned this earlier. I don't think I've ever seen a threat in all of fiction that is kind of as terrified as these guys.
A lot of people say that the Tyranids are most likely to win the setting, and honestly, that's not even a crazy take. I know the Tyranids seem to lose a lot in lore, but people fail to mention how they most likely already devoured hundreds of worlds before whatever story begins. Plus, if the theory that the Tyranid presence in the Milky Way is just a scouting force, then things look even more...
Dude, imagine the idea. I know, I heard that theory also. Imagine the idea that all the Tyranids that have invaded that are causing all of this chaos. Imagine this, right? And they're just scouts. Imagine they're just scouts. That's impressively terrifying. Holy crap, bro.
Dire. But
there's a theory that they were created by the old ones as the living weapons against chaos. Nah, I don't buy that.
Yeah, the Tyranids are super cool. I love drawing them, and I'll definitely cover more Tyrannic wars in the future, as well as a more in-depth look into their bioforms, so stay tuned.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah, definitely check out Crackduck. I like his lore videos. But yeah, anyway, this has been the Tyranid Lore Dive. Thank you so much for joining me. Weekly Warhammer Lore Dives happening on the channel. All right, we will consume all lore from all the different series. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be big. Every franchise, every series, all lore, every animation. It's all getting consumed over here on Taku. Daily uploads. Thank you so much for joining. I think the Tyranids are incredibly scary. Incredibly scary. Like an unbelievably scary threat. And I think that every moment spent developing the different factions in the Milky Way and beefing them up and talking about how powerful they are, every single moment devoted to that just makes the Tyranids so much scarier. Thinking of all the galaxies with all this rich history that's all already been consumed. Fuck, that's crazy. But anyway, stay weird, fam. Like, subscribe, and this video was streamed live on kick.com/Nuxanor. See you there. Stay weird, fam.